thank you for joining us today on this webinar with Keyloop and Tjekvik, transforming after sales with Tjekvik's self-service technology. I'm Sebastian Fabry. Just before we get thoroughly started, there's just a few administrative points to cover. So first of all, this webinar is recorded and will be shared following the webinar session. As part of this webinar software, there is a Q&A button that you can click on and you can ask your question, type your questions in there directly. And we have saved allocated time at the end to go through as many of those questions as possible. If we don't get round to it or kind of answer all of them at a time, we will definitely follow up with you afterwards. As part of the webinar, there are also, I believe, a couple of polls that will pop up. Very simply, just interact with them, select your answer, and thank you in advance for participating and for your feedback. And then lastly, if you want some further information, Sam Ellis, who is the Keyloop Regional Marketing Manager, has left his detail here. That will also be at the end of the webinar. Please get in touch with him, and he will put you in touch with the right person. Now, I am not the only one here today. So as we go through this agenda, first talking about the experience first, philosophy of Keyloop, and then moving into a discussion with Sandy Cliff, who is a joint customer of Keyloop and Tjekvik, before going into a little overview of the Tjekvik solution. So that everyone can really understand how it all comes together from both sides and what are the dealer and customer benefits. And then, as I said earlier, we'll finish with the Q&A. I'm Sebastian Fabry, Partner Director at Keyloop. And then joining me, we have two Tjekvik people. We have Darren Bentley, the Key Account Manager. He will be doing most of the presentation, but we also have Scott Edmonds, who is a Customer Success Manager lead, here ready to answer any questions at the end, if it goes beyond any of my or Darren's expertise. And then, last but not least, Tony Jackson, General Manager at Sandy Cliff. It's a great pleasure to have you here. He will be participating and having a chat with Darren to share his experience working with Tjekvik and Keyloop. Our philosophy, you might have heard, and I hope you have heard in the past 2 years, is really to focus on experience first. It's something that we really take to heart. It's something that really matters, and it's the way we want to be able to give you as a dealer a great experience working with Keyloop, but also enable you when interacting with your own customers to have this experience first approach and make every touch point a delight, an opportunity to turn your customers into recurring customers and create that loyalty from them. And it's not something that's been easy in the past, right? It's actually something that's been quite tricky, in part because of the way the software has been and the industry has been. So not being able to actually have a single view of the information, not being able to share information between different tools that you might be using, or these silos are created both within the dealership, but also between the different products, have been a challenge. And slowly it's been improving, and a big focus on Keyloop is that today. The way we're approaching it and solving it is with a platform that is there to really unify the experience across the whole of the Keyloop portfolio, but also the rest of the automotive system, right? The partner ecosystem is a key component of this platform. And as we are building this and interacting together, that makes the journeys a lot more unified and the information share between the different components that you are using within your dealership, right? So it's very, very key for us. And that's, I think, true regardless of the partnership that we're talking about, but it is especially through with Tjekvik, since we've been working together for such a long time. The journey of checking in the customers and checking them out is really well integrated into the whole workshop experience. Our DMS, whichever one you might be using, really interfaces through this platform that I was talking about, and then synchronizes with our partners to make that as seamless as possible. This unique integration allows to essentially transform and move data from one system to another in one format and have consistency between the systems, right? Whether it's within the Keyloop portfolio, or whether it's within one of those integrated partners. We simplify that so that you don't have to go and double key and you don't have to check multiple systems. The information is the same in all of those places. Now, when we're talking about Tjekvik specifically, looking here at the different steps and journey that the customers and the dealers might go through in the after-sales journey, Tjekvik really well complements the experience, right? It really enriches the experience for your customers, and it makes your life easier, as you'll see Tony and Darren discuss in just a minute, right? When it is about being able to check in, check out, update all this information between your customers, well, that's why we have this added value partnership with Tjekvik. Out of curiosity, so here's our first poll that I was mentioning earlier. On average, how long does it take for one of your customers to check in for an after-sale appointment at your dealership, right? And that it really includes the queue waiting time. So it's about the whole experience of the customer. I'll give you a minute or a few seconds to reply that, and then we'll actually share these results back with everyone so you can see a little insight in your performance versus others anonymously. And I'm sure if you have further discussion with Tjekvik, they'll have even more insight in these types of statistics. There you go. So it's quite an even spread, but it's definitely biased towards the higher numbers here, right? There's the lucky few that can do that in 1 minute, but in general, we can see that it's an experience that is 5 minutes plus, and sometimes can extend at peak hour all the way to over 10 minutes. So there's something to look into there, right? This is actually probably a great jumping point to hand the discussion over to Darren and Tony. They'll discuss a little bit of the experience that Sandy, Cliff, and Tony have had over the last few years working with Tjekvik and Keyloop.
Thanks, Sebastian. And good afternoon, everybody. If I could just introduce myself. So I'm Darren Bentley. I'm the key account manager for the UK and Ireland. I've been with Tjekvik for nearly 4 years now. And I've been in automotive too long, probably not as long as Tony, but too long, 34 years I've been in. And then I'll let Tony introduce himself.
Well, yeah, I've top trumped you in the motor trade for 38 years. And I've been at Sandycliff, Ford Store Nottingham for just over 4 years. So I think over that 38 years, I've seen a lot of change.
Yeah, I bet you have. Well, anyway, Tony, thanks for giving us your time. Really appreciate it. Your thoughts and kind of learnings on using us, Tjekvik, and also using Keyloop. I think it's really important, and it'll be good to hear from the horse's mouth what you think. So Sandycliff have been with us since 2021. They went live with a couple of sites, and then they quickly rolled out to the group. Could you share your experience of using the system with us?
Yeah, of course. I have to say, my first thoughts were when we first thought about it was, are we going to lose engagement? Visited Think Ford down at Farnborough, got there for 7:30, and it took all of about 3 minutes to realise that you don't lose the engagement. It was a long journey to realise that this is a good thing. So we've brought it into our dealership, and it's just made us so much more efficient. And to the point that our customers are seeing the efficiency, and that gives us time to grow as well because people are getting used to it. So I really applaud it.
Brilliant. What do you think is the most beneficial element then of self-service check-in and check-out?
Yeah, to me, it's the efficiency, but the home check-in, that's a great thing. And once you get people checking in from home, they're relaxed, they can do it in their own time. I always talk about auditory and visual. A lot of people are auditory, a lot of people are visual. Some people want to hear it, some people want to read it. And to be able to just look on their laptop or on their phone, read the questions, and in a relaxed way answer the questions. And very often they are actually asking or inquiring about something they may not have done when they're at a dealership, when they're just trying to drop the keys off and move on. So we've seen a massive uplift in home check-in, and it's proving successful for some of those people who are committing to some extras on their visit that perhaps we may have missed or may not have, but it's in a relaxed approach. So and just the check-in, we make sure we're engaging people on the dealership check-in. We've got somebody there. We don't want to lose sight of just putting a kiosk in the corner and hoping it's going to work. We don't do that. We still have somebody just engaging people.
So the home check-in people are doing it at their leisure, basically.
Yeah.
So instead of when they're rushing around, when they're probably wanting to go somewhere, they can, I don't know, they maybe done everything they're going to do on an evening, and then they'll sit down and do the check-in. So
Yeah.
you know they're going to turn up. They've answered most of the questions that you want them to answer. Makes their experience and yours a whole lot better the next day or whenever they're coming in.
Yes,
So what feedback have you got from the advisors?
Well, okay, so the first time when we brought them in, it was like, oh my, they're taking our job. Does that mean we're losing our job? We're going to have these kiosks? And it took 3 or 4 days for them to go, wow, yeah, this helps us. We haven't got people queuing up at the counter. You know, there's because we had somebody actually engaging people and making it easy for them. So it actually gave more time to the service advisor. So they could actually see that they could spend time actually doing things in the back office as well as the front of house. So very quickly they realised that this was just giving them time back.
Yeah, I mean, we've experienced that. So when we onboard advisors, we've had that scary moment when they think that this is going to replace them. But, you know, it's not the case. You need advisors. And Scott talks about the light bulb moment that they have when they realise that this could really help me. It could help me do stuff through the day. It could help me leave work on time.
Well, Darren, that's the next thing I was going to say. You know, we now have got staggered start and finish times, whereas we all know that you needed everybody, all hands on at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, because we've got all this rush of people, and then the rush of people at the end of the day. We've been able to do that. We've been able to reduce service advisors' the hours that they work in a day, and that gives them a better work-life balance.
Absolutely. Has it benefited the sales team at all?
Yeah, so we've graduated from the Ford store's a big place, but what we've done is with the help of Keyloop, one of the questions that we ask is, are you looking to change your vehicle in the near future? Yes or no, and is it new or used? So that straight away goes to our used car managers. So now we've got a chance of engaging a customer the next day about changing their vehicle. So that's, and on Mazda, which we were trialing there, and we've been trying that for a good while, is that we get a bit of somebody comes in early and leaves earlier, and then a bit of a work pattern from the sales team, and they check the customer in. So again, opening the conversation, how long they've had the vehicle, you know, would they like a valuation on their part exchange while the vehicle's here? So again, it's another engagement.
Yeah. So that obviously helps with having the system. The Tjekvik system isn't free, so that obviously helps with return on investment, not just from the service but from the sales side.
Yeah, it does, and you've got a reason to talk to somebody as well, aren't you? Because you're helping people, and it's
Yeah.
just a natural thing, and that's the thing. It's natural. It's about just being able to help people, and sometimes if it's the first time, tapping the machine themselves, just for the customer if that's a need. But it just you start up that conversation. As I saw at Think Forward, it took 3 or 4 minutes just to see. It's better engagement. It's not processed over a desk.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I've sat in some service departments just observing and not done anything for hours sometimes just to see what customers do. And I've seen those queues, and I've seen advisors and myself say to customers, do you want to try the self-checking kiosk? And when they've done it, they've been a bit surprised that it's that easy. I've heard them say wow and things like that, which I just don't think they anticipated how easy it would be. So how have your customers been impacted by the kiosks? What experience? How have they benefited from the experience?
Well, the one thing that we don't have the queues. Definitely
Yeah.
don't have the queues, and we had queues. And then if we've got queues, that means people are waiting. We don't have the waiting that we had before. And the other thing is that we've had to look at Tjekvik and how can we get even more out of it, how we can maximise that even more. So we've always got somebody sat at a desk, a welcome area where the kiosks are. And then we've also I've looked at our service department and how we operate. So we've always got a service advisor at the desk who can do the bookings, general inquiries, all that sort of thing, and be there to help. But we've also been able to move people into the back office. So we're now at speed to getting back to a customer, talk about a vehicle health check, talk about the invoice, send the invoice to them, do an online payment scheme, which means we can then put the keys in the checkout. It's just changed the way we do things. And for a lot of people, a lot of people are so busy these days and they just want to be in, they want to be out. You can see that we're getting a reward from it, and we get the odd one. We get the odd one once every 3 months on a survey and says, "Oh, I don't like it. I was kept waiting." And when you look at the customer and you go into it, it was because it was just one of those manic times. It was really busy. And whatever matter, if you've had 4 service advisors, they'd have all been busy. They'd been waiting anyway. So it really wasn't the check-in. It was the fact that they were waiting around.
Just circumstance.
Yeah. And it's like the odd one. That's it.
Which is going to happen, in it, now and again. So, I mean, you're definitely maximising it. I mean, year to date, from your data, 76% of your customers are checking in from home, which is an unbelievable figure. But an even better figure is 67% of them are using the kiosk. So, have you had feedback from customers? What have they said about it?
Well, the feedback that we're getting is that it's helpful, it's quicker, and sometimes we've got people now who are coming back the second time because just remember they might have a service, they might need to come back and for warranty work or something like that. It's just easy, and there are always going to be those customers who come here and they want to come. We've got a cafe, they'll sit around and that's what they plan their day around it. But the majority of people are very busy individuals. So we have had more people on the CVP questionnaires saying, "I like the check-in, it was fast and it was efficient, and the gentleman or the lady at the desk was really good." So and we're seeing, because we've had a lot of staff changes, and we all struggle with it these days because the long hours that service advisors have had to put the hours in the past. We're able to reduce that, and we're actually starting to see that people are coming back using the check-in, and it's everybody's just that much happier. And our CVP rating is going up for the things that we've been able to do with the back office and everything else. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without check-in.
You talk about year 2. I suppose it's just an educational piece, isn't it? It's like, we started with airports, didn't we? We had self-checking at the supermarkets. McDonald's have completely flipped it on its head, and now you have 15 kiosks instead of people. But the first time is an education piece. The second time, the customer probably knows what they're doing and they'll just wander in. So do you feel like the first time they come in, they need a bit of additional support sometimes?
Yes, yes. We're a Ford dealer. We're going through the Ford guest experience where we're treating customers as guests, not customers. This is a real guest experience. And I said, I go back to the beginning. If you're just going to leave a kiosk in the corner and hope it's going to work, it won't necessarily work. You still want that engagement. And we did start off initially where we had somebody at the busy times and at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. We now realise that that's a good idea to have somebody there all day. And we have an advisor there who's there to speak to everybody and be helpful. If we need to we've still got a desk in the showroom, but all our advisors are at the back office, and we bring somebody out. They go and get somebody, and then we can have that one-to-one if that's required.
Yeah.
So
you've got to embrace it, haven't you? It's got to be part of process, because like you say, it will just be a piece of metal in the corner gathering dust if it's not part of what you do and everybody's not bought in. A big word that me and you, Scott, again, when we're onboarding is mindset. If you've all got the right mindset and think that this system's going to help you, then you really can benefit from it. Absolutely. So what do you think are the main reasons customers use self-service then from your feedback?
I think that the home check-in is huge. You look at the time, you get a home check-in. I would say I'm our best mystery shop. I bring vehicles in and I have my own vehicle serviced here, a home check-in. I get in, and then when I just check in at the kiosk, it's two questions where, check in with the registration number, where is it, sign it, and you're gone. It's so simple. And I think that's the key element to everything. Being able to do the home check-in, it relaxed period. And if you're too busy and you missed it at home, it still doesn't take long. Whereas if you're queuing up and waiting, you've always got somebody going to get the paperwork, they're going back, and it just takes that much longer. But again, as I say to you, have somebody there, somebody who's got some service experience as well. And it's simple.
Would you recommend it? And
yeah,
why do you, do I really need to ask that after what you've just said?
Yeah, a real advocate. We had a problem only just over a week ago with some illness, and it was just like 1, 2, 3. We had somebody leaving to go back to New Zealand. We were very short-staffed. Now, if I'd have just had people on the front desk, I'd have had a couple of people at the desk seeing 30 or 40 people in. I mean, Christ, it would never have worked. However, having the check-in, we managed, and we didn't have massive queues. We managed to get it. It was hard work for people. They did extra hours, and I thank them all for that. But we managed it, and that was just having the check-in and check-out.
We always say it doesn't ring in sick. It doesn't go on holiday, and it doesn't have a bad day. So those times when you've got people off sick, or they're just having a bad day, or we're short-staffed, then it stands up, can't it? And it's just something you can rely on, I suppose. For healthy things like do you see how do you envisage self-service changing, evolving? Can you see in the next few years?
I think it's conversationally. I mean, we spoke to Scott just recently and said, can't we ask the question about if they're going to change their vehicle? Yeah, we can. Bang. Next thing we know, we've got something on the system that's actually engaging the customer. Are they looking to change their vehicle in the near future? Opens the door, valuation, start a relationship, whether they're doing it now or further down the line, we can actually diary that. So that helps with that. I'm looking at, been talking to a company who look at an app for body shop that actually gives them a quote. And I'm thinking, this could be another opportunity to say to you guys and say, can we get this into the system that enables this to happen? And then people at home can just take a couple of pictures and sort that out and get a quote very easily. And it gets over the message that we've got a body shop and we can actually do that small repair that you've just been putting off all the time. But sometimes they don't even ask the question, do they?
No, I mean, when I go through the overview, you know the system. There's places where you could add that kind of question, and then there's a new function at the end where you could maybe add it. Is there anything else that I haven't really asked you about that you want to share, or do you think that kind of sums it up?
No, I think that it's the one thing I would say. It's enabled us to think differently. We had Ford Motor Company here just a few weeks ago, and we told him that we were moving all the service advisors out of the showroom. We've got this guest experience where the new showrooms are going to be laid out completely different. Just have loads and loads of desks in there doesn't make an awful lot of sense, because that's what we've always done. By doing what we've done, it's changed people's thought process, and it also means that the sales team have a more of an invested interest when someone walks into that showroom as well, and they're walking around, because sometimes they're looking for a service desk. So it just changes the way people think, and it gives you more opportunity.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Tony. I appreciate that. I'm sure the people who are listening might have some additional questions. So when we're in the Q&A, if you do want to ask Tony anything else, then please ask him then. But yeah, thanks again. I'll go through an overview of the system now, just 15 minutes, a short overview, to give you a bit of an idea of how the system works. And then, as I said, we've got the Q&A at the end where you can ask more questions. So let me just share my screen. With sound. So you should all be able to see my screen. So first things first, it's normally the one that I get asked when I do a presentation is, how the heck do you pronounce the company name? So the V is basically a W. So it's Tjekvik. It's a Danish word, and that's what we do: intelligent self-service technology, precision built for after sales. If you do want to translate Tjekvik into English, it's nice and simple. It's Tjekvik. So just get that out of the way. Just try to go on to my next screen. There we go. So I'm going to go through kind of who we are, what we do, and product overviews. So who we are. So as I said, we're Tjekvik. We're established in 2015. A Danish company. We have over 50 people working for us across 8 countries. The system is available in 28 languages across 29 countries. We have 1,600 plus dealerships across the globe, and over 620 of those are in the UK. So the UK is by far the strongest market. Just from an idea of people having interactions with the system, last year we had over 2.8 million self-service interactions from home, at the kiosk and at checkout, and that generated over 10 million euros in added value sales. And that's without extra inquiries you might get for service plans, vehicle valuations, pre-authorized work, etc. So that just gives you a little bit of idea about the system. So what we do, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a short video for you, and then I'll give you a little bit of an explanation after that, but hopefully the video will give you a little bit of an overview of what we do.
Vehicle check-in and out shouldn't be hard work for anyone. That's why we built Tjekvik. It's intelligent self-service technology that lets your customers check in and out, how, when, and where they want. At home, in the dealership, securely outdoor, or anywhere that works for them. Your customers are free to get on with their day. Your after-sales team are free to get on with the work that really matters. And because it syncs seamlessly with most dealer management systems and automatically prompts customers to buy add-ons and answer questions, it takes the hard work out of integration and upselling too. Happier team, happier customers. It's after-sales check-in and out as it should be. Tjekvik.
So hopefully that give a bit of an idea of what we do. That is a business to business version, but we do have a business to consumer version of that our dealers can share with their customers to explain what the system is about that they're going to be using. And we have a lot of dealers who actually create their own videos. But I think you can see in there what we're trying to do is we're trying to free up the advisors and give them more time back to do the things that Tony was talking about, like EVHCs and amber items. We're there to help with the customer experience and give the customer more choice of when they can check in and check out, and just make it a bit more flexible, just as life is today. And then in order to give a return on investment for the system, we also help you with added value sales and accessories and service plans and vehicle valuations, etc. So a little bit about how it works. These are what we call the mechanisms. So we have home, in dealership, outdoor, and pickup. So with Keyloop, the great added benefit of Keyloop is that with the API integration, you can send the invites to the customers up to 5 days before their appointment. You're in control of how soon before the appointment those invites go out. We will share best practice with you on when we think those invites should go out, but you could send an email, say 3 days before, and an SMS 2 days before. And if a customer's checked in from the email, they won't receive the SMS. So it's intelligent enough to know that the customer's already checked in. So the customer receives the invite, usually at home, sat on the mobile. They've probably done what they need to do that day. And as Tony says, they can start that home check-in when it's convenient for them, when they're not rushing around like they do on a morning, maybe when they're trying to get to work or somewhere else. And at the end of that journey, we'll thank them for checking in, and then we'll advise them on what to do next, which is then go into the dealership and check in with the kiosk. So like we discussed, the advisors have that light bulb moment. They try and encourage customers to use the kiosk, so that frees them up to do other things like follow up amber items, EVHCs, but it also enhances the customer experience because they're not having to wait for 5-10 minutes for an advisor and then sit with an advisor for 15 minutes because they've done most of what they need to do from home. They can do a key drop in a couple of minutes, and I'll show you an example of that. And if you want customers to be able to answer the same questions regardless of whether they've checked in at the kiosk or whether they've checked in face to face, so if a customer's had no interaction at all with checking from home or the kiosk, they can do a face-to-face check-in with the advisor on a tablet or a laptop, and they can answer the same questions that everyone else gets asked. So it gives you consistency. We launched our new outdoor kiosk last year, so that's available for you, so 24/7. That really depends on whether you have barriers at the dealership and if there's somewhere for the customer to park outside of working hours. And then finally, not for everybody, we have something called pickup. So that basically means you can have a kiosk not at a dealership. So we have one in Sofia Airport for BMW. We have one in underground car park in Madrid for an Audi Volkswagen dealer. We have one in a petrol station in Germany for a Mercedes dealer. So if you have power and Ethernet, then you can have Tjekvik and you can have the Keyloop integration. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. So this is a home check-in. I'll play the home check-in for you. This is a typical message where we're telling the customer they've got a booking coming up. We tell them when it is, and we advise them to click the link to secure the booking. The word at the top says Tjekvik. That can be whatever you want it to be, up to 11 characters. And the URL can actually be branded with your business name. So URL branding is what we call it. So it gives the customer just a little bit more confidence that the message is coming from yourself. But I'll just play the home check-in and talk you through what's happening. So they're greeted with the check-in page. You can see the logo, which can be your logo. They can start the check-in or they can watch a video to see how it works, which is a version of the video I showed you or your own video. We present the customer's information to them and they get the option to edit that. So it also data cleanses for you at the same time. The beauty about the integration with Keyloop is we ask the customer if this is a permanent amend or just for this appointment. If it was a permanent amend, that would automatically write back to the DMS for you. If it's just this appointment, we'll advise you of that number to call the customer on. Then we ask the customer, how should we contact you through the day if we need to, by text or call, and you can add video to that. We then show the customer the scheduled work, which we've pulled from Keyloop, and the customer can add additional comments if they've got something else to tell you. It may be a long time since they made this booking, you may have missed them on pre-call, and they just want to tell you something prior to arriving. To manage expectations, we say to the customer we might not be able to complete the work on the day, and we need to agree a price. And then we start showing them the added value items, and you're completely in control of what these are, but these are typically the best selling items. So wiper blades, aircon refresh, battery for your key fob, top-up oil, those kind of things. If a customer wants them, they just click add, and if they don't want them, they just scroll past them. So those are what we call the services with a fixed price, where a customer's authorizing an item there and then. You can put that straight through the till. And then there's another type of question, which is a multiple choice answer, which you would tend to use for things like a service plan or a vehicle valuation. Or would you like us to clean your car? Interestingly enough, about 15% of customers say, don't clean my car. That wouldn't be me, but some people don't want you to clean the car. So it's nice to know that before they arrive, and it'll save you extra resource on the day. There's a car valuation, so that could go straight to the sales department. Doesn't have to go to service, can go straight to sales, and then they can deal with the inquiry. Then the customer would sign, and then we would show them the end page, which is basically thanking them for checking in and telling them what to do next. A new function we've just added, which I'll come back to in a second, is just there, the My BMW app. That's just a version. So this is the end page. Image of the kiosk in the dealership, showing you the kiosk in situ, so you know what it looks like and where to go. Thank you for checking in. And there's an option to click a link on there if you wanted to watch a video to see how it works. You'll see that new function we've put just above that. We've created it so that you can download a manufacturer app, but that link could actually link to anywhere. So the URL that in this instance is taking you straight to get the My BMW app. You're on your mobile, you can download it instantly, but we could maybe even use that link for what Tony was talking about with Body Shop. So that's the home check-in. And then I'll just show you a kiosk example of the customer who's already checked in from home and show you just how quick this check-in is on the kiosk. So we're up close with the kiosk. This screen can be whatever color you want it to be. The logo, the Union Jack in the top right-hand corner, a customer would click on that and they can check in a different language if they choose. The need help icon is just something they click and it brings up a number for them to call. So for example, Saturday afternoon or Sunday, if there's no service team, they could ring a number. Most dealers turn that function off, but it's there if you want it. The logo in the top left can be changed to your logo. And then the only other thing that can be changed is Express Service 1. So that is the most popular name, but a lot of dealers give these digital colleagues names. It's like Trevor, Brenda, Jeff, R2D2, C3PO, we've had all sorts. So you can really make them part of the team and make them a bit of fun. So the options are to check in, check out, and no appointment. So the no appointment is where you would create an appointment if you did come in Saturday afternoon or Sunday, or a recovery driver could check in and leave their keys in the kiosk instead of leaving keys with sales. Through what happens when the customer checks in, who's already checked in from home. So we ask them to log in with license plate or mobile number. And then this is a two-factor check-in. So we ask them for the last 3 digits of their mobile. If you want to make this one factor, you can make it just one factor check-in. Then we show them the work, the scheduled work that's been pulled from Keyloop, the comments that the customer has made from home. If the customer wants to make additional comments, they just add comment in the green button at the bottom. They may have remembered something on the way in. And then we show them an aerial view of the car park. The customer tells us where they've parked. There's normally on top of the building, you would say you are here, just to give you your bearings. and then the customer would sign, the locker would open, the customer would put the key in, shut the door, and we'd send the customer a text message to say, we've got your keys and we'll call you when your car's ready. So as Tony said, if you have checked in from home, the key drop is super quick. You're in and out of the dealership in 2 minutes. You can go about your day. If the advisor needs to ring you once you've left the premises, when it's convenient for the advisor or the customer, then they can do that. And then just to update you on a few product developments. So something that we've recently launched, which is a real game changer, is something called Smart Rules. So you can tailor the customer journey even further from the data that we're picking from Keyloop. So the vehicle make and model, the work order details, whether the customer's a waiter or a fleet customer. So we could exclude electric vehicles from an oil top-up question. We could include all electric vehicles in a question that is related to something that's to do with electric vehicles. Just some examples for you. And the other beauty about it with account-based setup, if you're a multiple site dealership, you could create one question and share it with all of them or some of them all in one go. So the admin time that you can save is huge. And then this is just an idea of how that looks in the back. So all the data on the left-hand side is the customer data, and you can see where we've grabbed that information that we need about what model this is. Is there an MOT? Is there a service plan? So that we can pick that information and ask the question accordingly. And then account-based setup, as you can see, the questions are on the left. We just indicate on the right-hand side who we want to share it with. And then that's instantly shared with other sites. And then something that we're piloting at the moment, which has been in half a dozen sites, it's now going into 17 more sites, is a function with rental loan car courtesy car, which basically means a customer can come to the dealership, drop their key in the kiosk and remove a loan car key at the same time. So again, another game changer. So you don't have to have interaction with the advisor, even if you're picking up a loan vehicle. And then finally, the thing that I showed you in the home check-in. So you can see in the top right-hand corner, you would just click that link and it would take you to wherever you want to go. As I said, that could be for an OEM app. It could be for your own app. It could be for something completely different. And then just to give you some idea of numbers, so far this year, we've had 2.3 million interactions with the system from home, from the kiosk. We've had 167,000 added value items chosen, which has generated nearly £10 million already, and that was the total for last year. 69,000 service plan requests and 72,000 vehicle valuation requests. And then so those are global figures. To give you some idea of top performers in the UK with home checking, the top performer is 73%. So I think Sandy Cliff and Tony are very near that. Kiosk checking 96%, which is exceptional. So Tony with 67% is a fantastic figure. And then kiosk checkout, 99%. So that's a dealership where our system is really part of their process and customers use the system for check-in and check-out. But you can determine what percentages these are for your dealership by how do you promote it at the point of booking? Do you promote it on pre-call? Do you have the right nudging around the kiosk? Do you host the kiosk, etc., etc.? All these things add up to more and more usage. And that's it. That's just a bit of an overview. If you do want a separate meeting where we can discuss it at further length later, then please get in touch. Thanks for your time.
All right, great. Thank you, Darren. If I could just ask you to stop sharing, I'll take over here.
Yeah.
On this night quote. It was great to hear. I really love it when we have a good product to start with. We're able to have this connection between Tjekvik and Keyloop, make it seamless, make it better for everyone. And on top of that, you are constantly innovating as well. So bringing more and more options and more things to the dealer, so that his experience for the end customer gets richer and easier, and the experience for the service advisor and the rest of the business gets also improved across the board. We've got a second poll for everyone here. That's going to pop up on your screen in a second. Just quite simple, yes, no. Would you like to hear more about, discover more about the Tjekvik solution? And whilst you are answering that question, we're also going to switch over to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Quick reminder, there is a Q&A button that you have access to. You can click on that and type in your question. I see that there are some already in there, so we'll answer those. But that doesn't mean that you can't always add some more in there. So we'll get started with that. So open it. So first question here from the Q&A. Quite specific question, I think. Just asking whether there are any implications from an insurance perspective if the units are outside of the dealership.
Well, the kiosks are EN 1143 certified for insurance purposes. So you would just basically speak to whoever your insurance company is, and you would tell them that the kiosk is EN 1143 certified. It's been through a massive amount of testing in order to get to that stage. I mean, the outdoor kiosk is 350 kilos. It's heat proof, it's cold proof, it's secured to the ground in a concrete base. So yeah, I mean, but you would speak separately to your own insurance company.
And as you were saying, it's also already in use by multiple dealers in multiple countries.
Correct.
That's also I think it's also always a reassuring fact to know that. Second question here. How long does it typically take, or I guess on average, for Tjekvik to be implemented?
So once we've agreed with a dealer or dealer group that the system is going to be implemented, then we can have you live within 4 to 6 weeks. The process for that is we dispatch kiosks, we request data from the DMS provider, so Keyloop, and then I would hand over to Scott on the customer success team, and then they would get in touch with the dealer, ask them a few questions, and also discuss their data, and set up online training and then on-site training. So, and that whole thing can take approximately 4 to 6 weeks. Very simple.
Yeah, and thank you. We've been talking a lot about service and after sales today, but I have a question here asking if either can Tjekvik be used, or do you have plan to expand to do self-service check-in for sales appointment, test drive booking, and the like?
For what, sorry?
Sales appointment or test drive.
Yeah. So it's already, as I said, I mean, in those figures that I showed you, we've had 72,000 vehicle valuation requests through the system. So it's very simple. You just add a question that this customer sees during checking. You ask the customer, I mean, it could be a simple question as in, are you looking to change your vehicle in the next 6 months, 12 months? Or it could be a simple question of, would you like a vehicle valuation? When a customer answers that question, if it's a yes, a notification can automatically go to the sales team, the sales manager, whoever you want it to. And then they would follow up that inquiry.
And I guess if the appointment is not for a service, but the appointment is simply to meet a salesperson, that could be something that is an option of check-in?
It's normally a service appointment, and what you're really doing is trying to make an opportunity, create an opportunity while the customer's on site. If they're on site, then they're going to be near the vehicles that you obviously want to sell them, either the used vehicles or the new vehicles. So you would, I mean, the customer may drop their keys and go, and they've made that inquiry, or if they've checked in from home, you would already know prior to the customer arriving on site that they're interested in a vehicle sale. So you could arrange for them to come back. They could view the vehicle while the car's being serviced, etc. So it kind of puts you as the salesperson ahead of the game. You've got the customer data, so you can look into what vehicle they've got. You can value the vehicle while it's on site. So it's almost a better solution, if you like.
Okay. I have a question here from a slightly different angle. So one of our attendees today sells motorhomes.
Yes.
And so he's wondering whether the system would be able to cope with habitation area concerns, whether those are mechanical and whether concerns or other concerns, and whether the customer can also provide photographs alongside comments.
They would, I mean, they could supply you pictures, not through our system. But I mean, if there's no reason why a motorhome dealership, providing we've got the data that we require, which is, details of the vehicle, the customer, when their appointment is, there's absolutely no reason why that customer can't have use our system. If they want to send any pictures of their vehicle, they would probably do that outside of Tjekvik, by email or by WhatsApp, or whatever means they might use. I'm not to say that in the future that might not be part of our system. As you said, we're always evolving.
Well, there you go. A little bit of feedback for you there. As you were saying, the questions can be fully customized, right? So you can make those about whichever type of vehicle or area of the vehicle that might be concerned.
Yeah,
that would make sense. That would make sense. Since the customers are using this to check in and check out, can they also pay using Tjekvik?
Yeah, so we integrate with, in the UK, around 10 payment providers. So we set up an API with that payment provider, and then with the advisor would just ask the customer, would you like to use the kiosk to check out, like you checked in this morning? Or even if they didn't check in using the kiosk, they could just use checkout. So at that point, you would send the customer a 4-digit code in order to remove the key from locker, and then they receive another SMS with a link to pay the bill that comes from their payment provider. So the beauty about the payment integration is you can't remove the keys from the locker unless you've paid that bill. So you won't get any cheeky customers trying to take the car without paying the bill. But yeah, we integrate with people like Vine and Bumper, WorldPay, QuickPay, Stripe, AIB for Ireland, etc. So yeah, we integrate with lots of payment providers.
Another question here, I guess, regarding specifically the machines. Do they get allocated to a specific site, or is that something that, if you realize that if you're using 4 machines and you actually would like to transfer one to one of your new sites, is that possible? Would they work with Tjekvik to actually move those machines, I would assume?
Well, we allocate them to a dealership. So as part of the onboarding, the kiosk arrives on site. Very easy to set up. You just put a one-time code in the kiosk, and it will say to you, "Am I at this dealership?" You will say yes, and then the system is up and running and set up as the back. But you can't just move kiosks to different dealerships without us knowing about it, because it'll still think it's at the other dealership.
Yes.
So yeah, that's something we can speak to dealers, one-to-one about.
Yeah, that was a slightly reworded question from one of attendees. So I would just encourage you to get in touch with your customer success manager.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. I have one last question here, which is around rental functionality. Courtesy car, is that something that can be configured via Tjekvik as well?
Yeah, and probably best. So that Scott hasn't spent an hour here just watching, maybe rental and courtesy car, loan car is something that Scott has managed from beginning to end. and he's still managing that project. So he's probably the best person to answer that question.
Yeah, so we've got Courtesy Car going live into the UK. We currently we first started it in Denmark with a company called Rentlog, and we've now expanded that into the UK with Cooper Solutions. So we're starting to use that as our base, and we've started to see some good tests, and we're seeing around half the customers who check in are actually following the process, giving us the details, and starting to check and doing the full process end to end. So we're starting. The people that start the process who get the text message to start the home check-in, which is the standard check-in, and then it allows you to add additional steps to the home check-in process to get a bit more details from the customer, like their driving license and their driving license details. So we can actually pre-populate a lot of the paperwork that is done at the kiosk. At the face-to-face when you're having to fill out the forms. We're actually being able to get the customer to pick that up and get that ready for the customer before they come in, ultimately saving dealers more time and customers more time by having a key drop, pick up and drop at the same time.
Thank you very much. Great. I believe we've actually answered all the questions that were in the Q&A. So I would like to once again thank you everyone for attending. Thank you everyone for presenting. Darren, Tony, thank you very much for joining us. Scott, just in time with the last answer. Thank you very much to you as well. If you'd like to hear more, Sam's email address is on the screen once again. And we look forward to providing you with more information and more innovation. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.